The H1B guy here. And today, the H1B guy analyzes I-129 petitions filed for non-immigrant specialty occupations, including H1B, L1, and TN through Q3 of fiscal year 2020. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube. It helps me to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention that the H1B guy offers consulting services. And just late last week, I had an opportunity to do a one on one review with a client as it related to their supporting evidence. They weren't quite sure if what they had was sufficient, and I was able to sit down, go over the documents, and advise them on what they needed to clarify. If you want this type of peace of mind, let the H1B guy help you. As we continue to keep up with the H1B approval and denial percentages, it's always good to get data directly from the source. This data was published by USCIS through Q3 of fiscal year 2020. For today, we're going to cover the H1B, L1, and TN data. The link from the source at USCIS also covers a variety of others, including O, R, H2A, and B as well. But for the H-1B visa, we're going to look at the total number of petitions filed, which includes both new and continuing employment. What exactly does this mean? Well, new employment is HCAP lottery cases or H-1B change of employers. Continuing employment is generally an extension or an amendment with the current employer. The total number of H-1B petitions received through Q3 of fiscal year 2020 was 332,303 petitions. The approvals that were initially of the initial filings that were approved, 282,040, and petitions that were declined, 36,329. The average approval petitions for H-1Bs filed through Q3 of 2020 was 88.6%. In the past, we've covered denials and approval rates, and a lot of that has been around new H's versus the continuing employment. So, always good to differentiate between the two. Remember, the total approvals and the total percentage combines both of those, the new and continuing petitions. The really interesting data lies in the RFE data, though. It definitely gets a little fuzzy with the timelines. Most RFEs are given 60 and sometimes 90 days to respond. So H-1B petition completions with RFE, that means ones that were completed during the first 3 quarters of fiscal year 2020, was over 110,000. The approvals with RFE, which is a very interesting number, 77,991, and petitions approved with RFE. So that means a case that was selected for RFE and that was approved, 70.3%. If you take the total number of RFE completions and divide it by the total completions number, it comes out to 34.8% of all petitions filed which are selected for RFE. That's over 1 out of 3 petitions filed that have been selected for RFE through fiscal year 2020 through Q3. I'll guess that over 80% of the H-1B petitions filed use the services of an immigration attorney. Are employers allowing cases to be filed without the appropriate supporting evidence per the advice of their legal counsel? Or is USCIS using the RFE as a mechanism to delay petition completions? Moving on to the L1 visa. The total number of L1 petitions that has been received through Q3 fiscal year 2020 was 28,911. The approved number was 19,422, and the denial was 6,566, with the approval percentage at 74.7%. The other interesting thing in the L1s is the RFEs, where 7,944 L1 petitions were approved with RFE, and the L1 petitions that were actually approved with RFE for the percentage was 56.2%. So that's just a little over 1 out of every 2 L1 cases that is selected for RFE is actually approved. The overall L1 petition filings appear to be on track for somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 fewer filings than in 2019. I honestly think we'll continue to see this number trend downward. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see this number trend down below 35,000 for fiscal year 2021. The interpretation of what is a specialty knowledge and the minimum of a 1 year employment with the international affiliate makes the L1 much more challenging to qualify for as it stands today. Add that to the fact that the L1 is not extendable past the 5 or 7 year maximum stay, even with an improved I-140, it makes the L1 a much less attractive option. And last, covering the TN visa. TN visa numbers tell a slightly different story. The overall TN numbers will combine Canada and Mexico, as the data provided doesn't differentiate the country designation. TN visa total petitions received 8,292, which is already higher than the total number of fiscal year TN petitions received for fiscal years 2015 through fiscal years 2019, meaning each individual year. TN visa petitions initially approved 4,926, denied 518 for an approval percentage of 90.5%. TN visas approved with RFE 781, and the approved with RFE percentage was 62.1%. Overall, TN numbers have trended up in 2020 per this latest publishing. So what does that say? Well, I'd be really curious to see the breakdown between Canada and Mexico TN visas that were petitioned in these numbers. I think a lot of skilled immigrants that have migrated to Canada in the last 10 years are now using their Canadian citizenship as an avenue for entry into the US with fewer restrictions. It also tells me that US employers are willing to recruit high skilled immigrants located in Canada and Mexico to fill their staffing needs. The TN visa is not considered dual intent, yet employers can hire resources under TN on a full-time permanent basis, which to me kind of comes across as a bit of a double standard. There's been rumors of modifications to NAFTA and the TN visa over the last year and a half. It'll be very interesting to see if the overall fiscal year 2020 for the TN visa will increase in year over year with another quarter yet to be reported. It'll also be very interesting to see if the trend continues in Q4 of 2020 of the report. For the full post on the I-129 non-immigrant worker specialty occupations filed in H1L and TN visa, please check out the full post on the H1BGuy.com. If you haven't already, please like this video. And as we asked you earlier, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube and click the bell for notifications so that you're notified anytime a new post goes up on this channel. And as I mentioned, if the H1B Guy can help you in any way with any audits, document review, compliance, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. If you've made it this far, I just would like to thank you for your support and taking time to watch my content. It really means a lot to me. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.